There we go, recording is on. Okay, so again, we're going to start off our response to the topic sentence. So when you were in elementary school, you used to learn when someone asks a question and you're writing an answer and you're writing in complete sentences, you take the question and do what with it? Turn it into your answer, right? So my question is, what is the most important things for creating an optimal environment for physical development? How would I start off that first sentence? The most important things. You got it. Okay, so what are some of the big ideas you guys came up with?
Voluntary reaching.
Very good. Voluntary reaching, that's one. What's another one?
We said using big, bold patterns, black and white
Okay,
patterns.
visual perception. Excellent. So, visual perception. So it would actually be an environment to support, environmental probably cues to support visual perception. There's one choice. Here's another choice. What would be another choice? Anybody at this table? Stimulation. Great. What kind of stimulation for physical development are we talking about? What if we're talking about like for motor skills? What do we talk about with the environment? What kind of environment would you need?
Well, you want an environment where they're able to like explore.
Excellent. Okay, so an environment that would support. So let's say environmental support. And are you guys talking about gross motor skills or fine motor skills? Which ones? For like walking and what do you?
Gross motor.
Gross, right? Don't you think you guys are talking about gross motor? Okay, for gross motor. Anything else? Well, at this back table, Jocelyn, what did you guys come up with?
Well, my first one was the reaching.
The reaching, okay. So, you know, honestly, looking at these, and there are more that we could have pulled out, but looking at these, I'm going to leave the reaching alone because we spent so much time there, and I want to see if you guys can do that one on your own, okay? We didn't spend as much time on environmental support for gross motor, so let's kind of pull out that idea and focus on that. In your essay, I said you have to identify how many big ideas. Look at the rubric. How many big ideas?
2 to 3.
Okay, 2 to 3. So just to be safe, where do you think you should go?
2. 3.
Anytime a teacher says 2 to 3, what do they really mean?
3.
That's right. I was always done that. When she says 5 to 10, she really means
10.
She doesn't mean 5, she means 10, right? So really, the best idea is in your paragraph to pick out 3 big ideas. So in addition to these ideas for physical development, there are other ideas for physical development from your lecture notes. And then we're going to add on top of that another layer of ideas for cognitive development, okay? So you would like go through your notes, maybe do a couple stars, but you would come up with 3 big ideas you really believe in and that you feel like you can support with examples, facts, research, things from your lecture note, things from your textbook, okay? So let's talk about environmental support for gross motor. And from this, let's identify 1, 2, 3 things specifically about the gross motor. What would be 3 things specifically about gross motor that we could look at?
Walking.
What about, okay, so we're talking about ways to support. All right, what would be a way to support walking? What do they need? What would they need to have?
Like the walking toys or
Okay, so
the
let's
push
see.
toys.
Push toys. All right. Let's look back through our notes. Do we see if anything in our notes about push toys or anything in our book about push toys? No. So let's maybe not go that way yet. Let's look back through our notes, back through our textbook. What else do we see? But no, we can put. I'm going to put push toys down here because we might add that in because that's something that we know. And you know, it's important to layer the things you already know along with the things that are in your text. Yes, yeah. Sorry. Jack of the dry erase, yes.
Standing behind them and walking.
We talked about that, right? We talked about providing physical support. Remember, we talked about that, providing physical support. So we could list physical support as one of these things. What else did we talk about?
Is that the same as balance?
Yeah, balance is something that needs to be there in order for them to be able to walk, but that's not an environmental support. You know, that's not something that you do in your house. You don't have, provide balance in your house. What else did we talk about? Go back through your notes here for chapter 6. Let's look and see. was chapter 5 actually. Those would be the notes in chapter 5. So pick out your chapter 5 now. I don't have mine in front of me. I think I have. I do not have mine in front of me. The same as the chapter 6 notes. Pull out the chapter 5 notes. And then look at your book. Go in your book. See if you can find it in your book. Okay, that can be part of. Is that part of walking? Providing
No.
for walking down.
Doesn't we choose at a certain point they have to have the shoes for their feet won't
That was that mentioned in the book?
But not yet.
No. So let's start. Here's one of the things that happens a lot of times is you guys just start going to your personal experiences, and then you're not showing me how you learned from the lecture.
Right.
Okay, so it's important that I want to see how you learned from the learning activities. Let's look at page 185, okay? Look at page 185 and 186. Let's start there. Okay, so looking at page 185, actually 184, do you guys see 184? And 185 and 186. These are things that are in your textbook. So let's start with your textbook, right? And then we can move from your textbook back to your lecture notes, okay? So this is motor skills as dynamic systems. So it says, as part of the dynamic systems theory, motor skills are, and remember what we learned about dynamic systems, it's as one skill develops, the next skill develops, the next skill develops. So now think back to me talking, and I was talking about when babies learn to crawl first, right? Do you remember me saying how they learn to crawl and they do one arm to one leg and one arm to one leg? And we had the picture, I don't remember what group did it, of the baby laying on the activity mat, and I talked about the importance of tummy time, right? So if we're, now let's get that Brian and Debbie in our head, even though we're not writing about Brian and Debbie, right? So what do you think that we would need to do if we were going to try and support each of those skills?
Have activity mats and make sure they're
Okay, so we have to talk to Brian and Debbie about the fact that walking is a part of a connection of skills. It comes out of, right? First laying on the tummy, then pushing up, then crawling, then pulling themselves up on furniture, and then actually walking. So what we would say is that in order to give environmental support for gross motor, they have to remember walking happens after other skills develop. So what do they need to do? Support what? Help their baby do what?
With tummy time, with
Starting with tummy time, starting with helping them push up, starting with helping them rocking back and forth, allowing them to holding on to furniture. Remember I told you about how my son, I would always say, careful, 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 and being so careful with him maybe slowed down the rate at which he walked, okay?
So like allowing them to explore their environment.
Yes, there you go, and that's something, that's something you talked about. Walking happens, and you know, we could even add exploration and discovery. Supporting exploration and discovery. And remember, each of these things is just a sentence. We're talking one sentence. It's all we need is one sentence here, right? Because we're building a paragraph. Okay, so when we're talking about physical support, we were talking about the parent actually like putting their hands underneath the baby to hold them to walk, or lifting them up, or giving them tummy time. That's kind of a lot like number 2 though, isn't it? It's difficult to really see the difference. So let's take this one away instead. Let's go back and look at our book and see if we see anything else. And let's look at page 186. in 186, if you look, it says half a century ago, Wayne Dennis observed infants in Iranian orphanages who were deprived of tantalizing surroundings that induce infants to acquire motor skills. These babies spent days lying on their backs without toys to play with, conditions far worse than what Grace experienced in a hammock in her Cambodian home. As a result, most did not move on their own until 2. Okay, so now think back to what Cheryl said earlier. What did Cheryl say? Which is something I actually erased it, but I think we can put it back up there. What did Cheryl say?
Push toys. Push toys.
Right. So how can we create an environment to support gross motor? What happened to these babies? Why didn't they walk?
They had no toys. They had no stimulation.
Absolutely. So can we maybe put toys back in there?
Mm-hmm.
I think we could, because I think we've got some support from our text, right?
Mm-hmm.
So provide toys. What kind of toys? What kind of toys would stimulate support? Let's keep reading that paragraph. I don't think it says so,
Helping
but
them
No.
move, like toys that'll
there you go. Right. So let's think about providing toys that encourage what?
Moving.
Movement. Good job. So we've got providing toys that encourage movement. Okay, now let's look at these for a second, because I think we're getting our paragraph here, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I need to have a topic sentence. That's number 1. Okay, I need to have a total of 5 sentences typically in a paragraph. Sentence number 2 is what?
Supporting details.
Supporting details.
Supporting
So maybe I'm
ideas.
actually going to call this A. This can be B. And this can be C. Okay? So sentence number 2A. Sentence number 3 is going to be B. 4 is going to be C. And then 5 is going to be my conclusion. I'll talk about that in a minute. Okay. And those will be my 5 paragraphs. Okay? So what is my topic sentence going to be?
Oh, each one of those is going to be.
What do you think my topic sentence is going to be? What did I identify?
Environmental support for
Okay.
gross motor.
So again, I would say to create an environment that supports infant physical development parents need to provide what? To create an environment that supports infant physical development, parents need to provide what?
An environment that supports gross motors.
You got it! Yes! An environment that Good! You got it. Are you guys writing this down? Because this is your example, okay? To provide an environment that supports gross motor. Okay, what is my first fact sentence going to focus on? Parents should do what?
Provide toys that encourage movement.
There you go. Parents should
Still right.
provide toys that encourage movement. Now, can I refer to my book here?
Yes, you
Yes.
I could. Parents should provide toys that encourage movement, okay? What could I say? What was that little fact I just looked at in my book? What could I say?
The push toy.
No, go back to page 186. It is about the push toys, but what happens when they don't have
could
them?
say
They don't move until 2.
So you could say
Studies
at night.
show.
Studies, excellent. Studies show that babies without these toys walk later than those that have them. Could we say that?
Yes.
Yes.
And do we need to provide the reference?
Yes.
Yeah.
Not
Oh,
in
you
this
said
one,
no.
because I
Oh,
said
yeah.
you do not have to.
Right.
As long as you can say, or you could say on page 186 of the child development textbook, it says that studies show, you don't have to for this one, okay? But I just want to prepare you because that's how you write in this style. Okay, so what's your next sentence? What's the next sentence about?
Walking appears after other skills develop.
Okay, so walking appears, so what do we need, what would be the next sentence we would want to say? We're talking to parents, we're talking about how they should help their babies have good gross motor skills. So we would
Maybe
say,
like parents should remember that walking is connected to other skills.
so support those other skills, right? Okay, so now if I started writing a sentence and I said parents should remember walking as a part of other skills, so they need to support tummy time and rolling over. There's a little problem with that. Does
Right.
anyone know what the problem is?
There's no connection. You have
Before you're like repetitive. Like
I am. Why am I repetitive, Jocelyn? What am I doing?
Just
Parents
said parents
should, yeah.
should provide toys. Parents should. So you should. say
So we
something
don't
like-
want to say parents should, and parents should. Why?
It's repetitive. It's
Look at your rubric. Why? Why
Because
does it
we're
say on
not,
the rubric? On the last scoring criteria, what does it say?
Oh, so
well
you-
constructed with varied
very
structure.
structured.
Right. So if I say parents should, that's one of my, and most people, if as a reader, if all the sentences start the same way, is it boring to read?
Yes.
Okay. So we don't want to do that. So what's a different way that we could phrase it? Instead of parents should remember that these skills develop.
You could just put remember.
Okay?
Yeah,
That's perfect. Yes, you can do that. Remember.
walking skills begin after other skills develop.
Perfect. Remember skills such as walking, because we haven't defined that yet. Skills such as walking, and I'm going to leave this up here so if you guys need to copy it later, you can. Develop after other skills. And in parentheses, what could I put down as some of those other skills?
Tummy time.
Right.
Crawling.
Crawling, pulling up.
Pulling up, yeah. Okay. We're doing pretty good so far. Okay, and what is our last one? What's our last one? What's C?
Exploration and
Allow
discovery.
exploration and discovery. Okay, so how could I start that last sentence off?
Say exploration and discovery is. I don't know.
Our key,
Our-
our key, exploration and discovery are key.
okay, is
They're
that a
important.
complete sentence?
No, it's
No.
not the whole sentence, but.
Right. No, but I'm glad you brought that up because a lot of times that happens. In every sentence, to make it a complete sentence, it's one of the most common things I comment on people's paper. To make it a complete sentence, what do you need?
Subject and
A
Subject
subject and a verb.
Mhm.
So in this one, what is the subject?
You.
That's very good. Is the subject identified in sentence number 3B? Is it identified?
No.
It's not identified. It's just, right, it's just remember, like you remember or parents remember. We didn't
Because you already
include
said
it, so
parents
that can be a
should.
little
Right.
tricky, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so just remember that in that second one, we've got kind of an understood subject. And I know that sounds a little bit advanced, but you guys in English classes, you're getting that. So that would be a way that you could vary. If you wanted to, you could say, it is also important for parents to remember. Can you see how that's a transition
Right.
and there we're identifying
Yes.
it? Okay, so what could we write, how could we start off that third sentence? Maybe instead of focusing on parents, we could,
It is important to provide exploration, discovery, or exploration time, or
it is important to, how about encourage?
Right.
Okay, so let's write that down. It is important. What little transition word could we use here too? It is
Additionally or
additionally or also, right. How about this? It is also important to provide opportunities, or you could put the word ways here, for babies to explore and develop explore and discover their environment or their home, right? Their home. Okay, so let's read what we have so far. To create an environment that supports infant physical development, parents need to provide an environment that supports gross motor skills. Parents should provide toys that encourage movement, remember skills such as walking, develop after other skills. In fact, this sounds a little funny, doesn't it? Like it's almost like it's missing.
Yeah.
So how about if we do they should? That's a little bit better.
Yeah.
We still have the should, but they should and you know, this is all part of the writing process, going back and doing those revisions and double checking and making sure it works. They should remember skills such as walking, develop after other skills. It is also important to provide opportunities for babies to explore and discover their homes. What's our conclusion now? What do we write for our conclusion?
The topic sentence.
Yeah, you go back. and-
Yeah.
Okay, so we're looking at all these things now. Go back and look at your rubric for a second. Okay, go under support for position. You see the rubric under support for position? What does it say in order to earn 3 points? What do you need to do? Provide a what?
One counter argument.
What is a counter argument?
The opposite of what we're talking about.
Okay,
Right.
so now remember you were talking about how this is new information for parents. Okay? So do all parents do these things?
No.
No.
Right. What do some parents think when they're thinking about gross motor skills? Why don't they do all this stuff? Because they think what's going to happen.
They're just gonna know and it's just gonna get them.
Okay, so could we maybe include that in our conclusion? So, although most parents think walking happens naturally, according to facts and research, it's important.
That we help support.
There you go. Good, excellent. Okay, so